Welcome to Chamber Exchange, a TV show. My name is Tim Murray, President and CEO of the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce. And Chamber Exchange, a TV show, is brought to you by our sponsor, Bank Hometown, who helps make it happen. And here on the show, we try to have conversations about economic development, job creation here in Worcester and in Central Mass. And I'm thrilled to have with us on our first segment, Ed Russo, a gentleman who wears many hats, or has worn many hats over the years, currently owns 2 restaurants in the Canal District. Owns property in the Canal District, and for maybe over a half a dozen years was chair of the Canal District Alliance.
Yes, thank you, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Well, good to have you with you, Ed, and maybe jump right in and just maybe we could just talk a little bit what the Canal District Alliance is and kind of why it was started and how it continues to bring together businesses.
Yeah, perfect. So Tim, the Canal District Alliance was formed many, many years ago. And it started with an idea of unearthing the canal in the Canal District. They wanted water.
Yeah.
Well, since then, of course, the whole neighborhood is changed.
Right.
And so that's kind of on the back burner. That's not what the Canal District Alliance is about today. It's more about representing the businesses and the residents in the neighborhood. It is a nonprofit, and we do different things. We work with the city on a lot of issues in the district. We work with residents, and we work with businesses and try to promote the district.
And really, there was a vision, right? How do you create kind of a mixed-use district, a collective vision, utilizing some of the great, buildings that are there? How do you, fill in some of the vacant space that was, in the Canal District, in the Green Island neighborhood, and kind of create a destination place? Right,
and I think, I'll tell you, I think we've done a great job at it. Starting off with Polar Park. We worked very, very hard on it. Well, yourself.
Right.
It wasn't the city that brought Polar Park. It was the residents and the business owners of the Canal District that brought Polar Park into the neighborhood through our postcard campaign.
Yeah, no, I think they talked about that regularly. 10,000 cards, and that was led by the Canal District Alliance, the businesses, the property owners. The other thing you mentioned too, which is important, is residents. We have seen the neighborhood grow in terms of kind of residents coming back, apartments, reuse of buildings that are mixed use. So there is a growing residential component to the Canal District, which is going to get even bigger. I think close to maybe 1,000 new units of housing over the next maybe 3 to 5 years.
Correct. Yeah, that was one day when I moved on into the Canal District about 8-9 years ago. There was very, very, very little residential, and people were wondering, why are you opening up a restaurant in the district? There's no one lives down there. Since then, we have more and more residents already on the ground. And like you said, 1,000 plus units coming in over the next few years will just continue the vibrancy of the neighborhood. And one nice thing about the CDA, a lot of those business owners or building owners that are putting these residential tenants in are members of our board.
Yeah, and just want to give you a little commercial plug. I mean, you've got 2 restaurants, Russo's, but prior to that, Lock 50. And Lock 50's been in how many years now?
Yeah, I believe it's been 8 years.
8 years, yeah. And then across the street on Water Street, you've got Russo's Italian restaurant.
Yeah, we opened up 6 months before COVID, and thank God we're still there.
Now, there's been some news, about several restaurants kind of closing. Unfortunately, in some of the articles, not maybe fully reporting or maybe not asking the question as to what is a building being sold or whatever. You're there on the ground. You have 2 businesses. You own property. What's happening in the Canal District?
Well, Tim, this show here is not long enough for me to really go through it all. However, what I can say, listening and looking at these articles, it's a little disheartening because the truth is not always presented. First of all, the restaurant industry, 1 in 5 survive, so you're going to have some attrition on that end of it. But specifically, the restaurants that are somewhat, we're saying closing, are not necessarily all closing. For the same reasons. Are some on hardship? I'm going to say yes. However, most are not. A lot of these businesses are up for sale. They've sold. New tenants are coming in, replacing it. Others have sold because of the real estate.
Yeah, and there was one, without mentioning the specific restaurant. I mean, they're selling the property. It was not reported in the article, nor did it appear the person volunteered that, but it's well known that that building's being sold,
Right.
and probably for, good for them at a good price.
I can say yes, actually at a very good price, and yeah, it's going to be part of a much larger development. So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
And so, one of the things we dealt with working with you, when the Fidelity Bank Worcester Ice Center went in, there was some concern. Clearly, when Worcester Public Market went in, there were businesses and individuals who had concerns, how it's going to impact parking, the character of the neighborhood. We also had that conversation, and continue to have that, with Polar Park as some of the nuances are worked out. But how have you, as a restaurateur and an owner, work through those things, and do you see them as individually and collectively as benefits to the neighborhood?
Absolutely. The Polar Park, well, I'll touch base right on that one, go right up to bat. Polar Park, again, I need to remind folks that we asked Polar Park to be built. We went to Pawtucket and asked them to leave Pawtucket, come to Worcester, and then we brought it to the city, and we let you guys do what you needed to do to get the deal done. Yeah, Polar Park was just the very first little piece of the redevelopment in the neighborhood. So for me, the effects it's had on me, and I tell everyone, I'm asked this question almost every single night when I'm in the restaurant. Geez, how's Polar Park doing? You must be doing great. And I tell them straight up, and the truth is, for me, it's neutral. Mm-hmm. And people look at me like, neutral, what do you mean? I said, well, there are some parking issues down in the neighborhood. A lot of them are perceived parking issues.
Right.
Okay?
I think there's 7,500 public and private parking spots within
Correct.
a half mile of Polar Park.
Yeah, and we just don't do a
in
good
the
job
district.
communicating.
In the district. Dollar parking on non-game nights in the city lots.
Yeah. So but going back to being neutral, we do lose a few customers. Maybe if we lose 10 tables on a night because folks don't want to deal with the traffic and the parking, we pick up 10 tables from the ballpark. So that's why I say it's neutral today.
Yeah.
However, if my staff and myself do a good job with those folks that are coming from the park, who necessarily have never been to my restaurant before, they're going to return.
Right.
So ask me in a year from now,
Mm-hmm.
the effect that the ballpark has had on my restaurant.
Yep.
As long as I did my job, I can almost guarantee extremely positive.
And so part of that is being a proactive, good restaurant, bar owner,
It's being a businessman.
Yeah.
And you need to do what you need to do to get your customers in the door.
Right. And so with Russo's Lock 50, and recently you acquired a building in town. We just got a couple minutes left, but we're going to break any news here? Or you
Well, yeah, I just acquired pretty much the whole block between Pond and Harrison on the Harding Street side.
There's Harding Tire and Harding Glass, correct?
Harding Tire, Harding Glass, and Titan Roofing.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason I'll tell you, it's been a vision that I've had to purchase them, because standing on the back patio of Lock 50, looking at that side of the street, it's not a right fit for the neighborhood.
Right.
So I am going to create some parking.
Yep.
On the Titan roof area. As far as Harding Glass, Harding Tire, I can tell you it's not going to be a tire company or a glass company. But I will say it will be entertainment, eatery type places that will fit well with the neighborhood.
Right, especially as it grows, and so in terms of my sense is, if you're making that type of investment, you're bullish on the future of the Canal District, Green Island neighborhoods.
Absolutely, I would not be making any further investment if I wasn't.
Right, and is it your sense that most of the people who are active with the Canal District Alliance, share that kind of vision or thought as it relates?
Yeah,
to
I would say the majority of the group on the CDA do. I mean, you're always going to have a few.
Right.
But yeah, I would say the majority.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, a destination place because of the restaurants, the bars, the Worcester Public Market, some great places, and clearly with the Worcester Ice Center and Polar Park, you're bringing in new visitors, to your point, who hopefully come back if they have a good experience.
Right.
So, and hopefully you'll come back to the TV show at some point soon. Maybe we can break the news on what you're going to be doing with the old Harding Tire, Harding Glass.
Fair enough. I'll see you at the beginning of the year.
All right. We'll come back with us in our next segment on Chamber Exchange, the TV show.
These days, you've got your hands full in life. That's why we help you bank simply and securely with tools like Face ID and Touch ID. It's why we make it easy to make purchases on the go and get cash back while you're at it. Why we help you quickly deposit checks wherever you are. And it's why we lend a hand with sending and receiving money right from your phone. So even when you're on the move, you can manage your finances. Bank Hometown. Unlock your potential.
Worcester, a city with heart, history, and promise. A hub of innovation in life sciences, education, and healthcare. Home to multi-generational families, first-generation citizens, and next-generation baseball and hockey greats. Home to great parks, world-class museums, theaters, and restaurants. Worcester, the place to visit, to invest, and to call home.